Hi everybody, Chris Petri here, and we're going to do a quick video on tracing with acetate. It's a plastic film that artists use, professional artists. I know I've had projects where I've needed to maybe create a painting and I needed to trace a very complex subject matter, and I didn't have a lot of experience with it, but I still had to make the let's say the deadline for something that someone needed for a project, some type of artwork, poster, painting, and so forth. So I do use it if I have to help me along with my artwork and something I might be doing, a project or something difficult too. Sometimes like working with figure work and things like that, portraits and the human form can be very difficult. So sometimes it's helpful to use some plastic film. So what we'll do is, there's a farmhouse here, and what we'll do is we'll take our it's called actually the brand I use is a Duralar. So it's a Duralar 0.005. I'll zoom in here a little bit so we can just see the brand name of it. I'll do a little better with my focus here too. So the brand is Duralar, and the film, the acetate plastic film, is 0.005 thickness. So that's what I use. It works great. I bought one pad of it, and I've had it for like 10 years. And I just trim down the pieces as I need them. And what's great about it is when you're using Sharpie marker to trace, you can use some paint remover. I use Goof Off, which is great. Works really well. Just a little tiny bit I need on a tissue or a paper towel, and I can just wipe off the Sharpie marker, and then I have this same piece of film I can use over hundreds and thousands of times over and over again. So this will last, pretty much indefinitely. Each time I'm done with a project or, tracing something, I might just take some, Goof Off Pro Strength Remover. It's great for taking off adhesives and glues, asphalt, tar, dried latex paint, things like that. It really works great. So let's see how this works. And what I did was I trimmed the film, the acetate film, the size of my iPad here that I have, and I have another piece that I use that I cut for the size of my iPhone. So all I simply do is I take two pieces of tape on my iPad here on the top, and I tape this plastic down onto the iPhone at the top so it doesn't move around, and then I have it securely in place, and then I just drop it over the top of the iPad. And this beautiful farm scene here, it's a farmhouse out in Pennsylvania, right near where I live in New Jersey. Lancaster. This beautiful farmhouse, you might look at it and say, wow, that's a really technical thing to try to draw, and it really is. It would take quite a bit of time to draw this. So if you wanted to create a painting and you wanted to say, let me get this really quick, everything scaled really nicely so that it actually is pretty much the same dimensions as this farmhouse and farm silo, you can just simply take the Sharpie and you can kind of get the overall shape of things. Now, you don't have to go incredibly detailed. You can just kind of get the roof lines like that, and the porch over here. I would say the trees and the shrubs and things like that, you can probably let those go. You might not need to do those. You could, though, if you wanted to really. But I would just get probably these lines here. And then I would just sort of get the overall. And then we'll get the silos here. Like this. Some of the trees over here. There's another roof over here. like that. And then also too, if you wanted to get some more details, you could use even a finer Sharpie like this, and you can get your windows like this. What this would do for you is, even if you're pretty solid with your drawing, you could actually move much quicker through creating a painting of this type without spending a ton of time measuring. And so you could almost just get things kind of traced out on this film. You get your windows like that. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. You're just looking to get like the locations, and then you'll later on, when you're drawing this pencil lines, when you're doing the pencil lines on your watercolor paper, then you're going to be fine. You'll kind of tidy up areas that need to be and then somehow, if that happens, try to reline it up again. We're live on camera here, so okay, let's see if that goes back. All right, that's close enough. And we'll get this window here. And I think that's good. So now, and then, well, let's see, we got to go up a little bit. So you could always move the film up a little bit and reposition it just a little bit if you need to get. I think that's good enough. All right, so you have the idea there. So now we just take the film off our iPad, or you could use your phone if you have a phone. You could do this with a TV. Really, it's endless. You know, you're the artist. You can get creative as you want. You can use all kinds of different things. But so now you can kind of see we have all the crucial lines and subject matter that we needed for our farmhouse. So the next step would be, once you have this, you would have your watercolor paper. I'll use some. Well, let's do it. Let's use some watercolor paper. So I'll put this watercolor paper here, and I'll tape it down. And we'll actually do a painting. Why not? Let's do a painting too. So we'll make this into a full tutorial with the painting. We'll maybe do a more simplified version of the painting, just like a fun composition to do. We're not going to maybe try to get every single detail, or try to make this a real incredibly detailed video where we're going to spend an hour or two. Let's just do it fast and quick. But let's say we'll get our farm scene like this, and then we'll say, all right, now we try. Let's try to see if we have. That might look good, right? That is really nice. So we have a mat that kind of works with this. How would it look with this? Probably too much negative space around this with this mat. So when we trace from our iPad, we sort of are locked into a smaller painting, really. That looks really good. Like that. Okay, so we're going to use this pre-cut mat for our dimensions. And then what we'll do is I'll just center this on the paper like this. Maybe I'll shift this over this way, so this way we have some room over here for our palette. And maybe I'll do that. I'll line this up here, and then I'll just do my points my dots here in the corners. And I know just to make it a little bit larger, my painting, so I get the 4 dots in the corners of my window of my mat, my pre-cut mat. I lift that up. Then I just take a ruler, and what I do is I just make sure I'm a little bit larger. So I kind of just make a few hash marks out from those original points that we made here, these dots. And then I'll just take a ruler and just make sure that we're like that. And we'll go across here like this and up here like that. So I just want to get my borders correct around the painting so that I feel comfortable that when I'm painting I'm not going to be, see, we have plenty of room now. We can move our mat around if we have to, and we have a little extra space, so we'll paint a little bit larger than the window of this pre-cut mat. And then we'll go here and we'll take our acetate paper, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to make sure we have our, I use the 3M tape sometimes, or the frog tape, which is the purple 3M tape. Works perfect. It's got low tack, so it really lifts up easy off the paper, so you won't tear your watercolor paper if you're using the 3M purple tape. And so I'll set it here like this. So it feels like it's setting down like that in the picture. We kind of don't want this floating up like it's floating out of the picture. We'd want to have it kind of resting toward the bottom of the painting. And then now we have it taped up top. The next thing we're going to do is I'll take a quick break now, and then I'll come back and we'll trace. We'll start tracing underneath our film by just lifting it up carefully and getting our points and our tracing underneath the film, the acetate film. Okay, so we'll be right back in just a second and we'll get started. All right, so now let's start tracing this underneath our film. And I'll start, maybe I'll start here. So the key is maybe, as long as you have 2 places taped up here, your film is kind of always going to be landing back down where it needs to land so that it doesn't move around on you. You could add a little 3rd piece of tape maybe, just to really secure it really well, like this. So you definitely want to secure that film to your watercolor paper, and you definitely want your watercolor paper taped down too so that it doesn't move whatsoever at all. And then you're set. Then it's just a matter of, what I do is I usually just, I kind of lift it up as minimally as possible so that I can just keep sticking to the lines that I'm doing. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You can always, again, go in and erase things if you have to and readjust things. Not a big deal. You can kind of just move it around. It takes a little bit of practice, you know, but it's nothing like rocket science. It's real pretty simple. And you just keep moving. If you can kind of keep your pencil, it's almost like I find that if you just rest, take the pencil, get it about where you need it, the pencil tip, the point of the lead where you need it, and then you press down the plastic so that it's just touching the top of the pencil, and then you kind of get your line at that point right there, and then you kind of keep following it over. So you're almost like barely lifting up the film as you go, just to trace underneath it. And again, it can be pretty simple once you do it a little bit. Windows can go in real simply. I wouldn't do much with the windows, like try to get them exact, because you can do those. And again, I'm holding that film down pretty tight so that it's kind of touching the lead of the pencil. And I'm going to go around and just keep going here. So it just takes a little bit of... Now this is for anybody that, again, I do use this. I think most artists will... see, I started to get off track a little bit. I was kind of getting this twisted a little bit. So if that happens, you know, you can readjust and redo some things. So I think this was the only thing I went off here. I went off the angle a little bit. See right here? All I got to do now is erase that line and go back in and make sure that my film is nice and lying flat along this, then lift up again. So I'm kind of holding it down really pretty hard on the paper and then just lifting up a little bit at a time, and then I'll just start this one again here, and much better. There it is, perfect. And then over here, same thing, like that. Okay, the bottom of the house is, I'm just going to do a little light sketching there. And then let's get some of these windows. Doesn't have to be perfect. We can just kind of get them close. When I was tracing them, I didn't do a super accurate placement of the windows, because we can always go back in and readjust them a little bit if we have to, or, you know. And again, we're not going to spend hours and hours painting this. We're just going to have fun and do a little bit of splashy, sketchy painting here after we're done. This is meant to be a fun exercise too, because it does get a little, it takes a getting used to a little bit. So if you're going to invest in a little bit of this Duralar acetate film, again, you buy one. If you purchase one pad of the acetate, it's going to last you, forever. Basically, it doesn't really wear out. It's really great product. And you can also use other things. If you can find plastic around the house, if you decide you don't want to really spend the money on it, no big deal. You can find plastic around the house. There's all kinds of packaging. There's like sometimes flowers, right? Actually, they use something similar to this for like flowers. When you see flowers sometimes, bouquets of flowers delivered and things like that. So no worries. You can also find other creative solutions to this, or creative ideas, if you just don't want to bother ordering things and all that and going online and all that stuff. Okay, so that's a roof line over here. So I'll just get this over there like that. And then I think there's some windows here. And if everything's not 100%, we'll go back and we're going to look at the and we have some pipes along here. Okay, that looks pretty good. So basically we have the whole sketch done already. And I'll get these few vertical lines here, these plumb lines along the side of the house. And I'll tap on my photo so I can kind of see some other details. Okay, we can get this window here. That, and I think there's another window right over the top here where that roof is. Okay, then over here we have a shed roof, like so. And we have that coming down there. And we have a porch here. And some steps over here, it looks like. And there's a lot of grass and weeds and bushes and things all around this house and this farmhouse here. And I think let's keep it at that. That's pretty good. I think that's, I need one more line here for this roof line. So I needed to get that, and also this. So this is where, when you're kind of finishing up your sketch lines, your tracing lines, you kind of lift up and you look at it and you kind of see if you have anything you might be missing for your sketch. But I think this is pretty close to what we're seeing here. And yeah, that's fine. That looks like we can use this 100% for a nice painting. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll lift up our acetate film. We have our sketch done. And again, if you're a busy artist and you have a lot going on and someone says, hey, I need to have this painting done right away, or something like that, I have a project, I really need this, I'm creating a book, I'm creating a newsletter, a magazine, something like that, something like, this is the kind of things that illustrators deal with all the time, probably, when you're working as an illustrator and you have projects and you got to get them done fast. You wouldn't probably work on something like trying to sketch this freehand without using some sort of help to get something rendered really, really professionally and professional looking, and then you can go from there. So let's continue on here and get the painting started in just a second. Let me take a break. I'll get my paints ready, and we'll get started with the painting. All right, I'm back, and I actually just set things up a little bit. So we have our palette over here all ready to go. We took the same photograph, and I just looked the photograph up online with my cell phone. So now I have my cell phone set up here, a little bit smaller, a little bit easier to get onto my screen here. If I wasn't working on this video, I would have just left the iPad that I was using, because the iPad's larger, better view of what's going on. But this is fine. We can definitely, this will be great for our colors. We're going to kind of just get the overall idea of this. And we'll do this a la prima. So we're going to go in and get the darks, the darker tonal values in, and leave the lighter tonal values white paper for right now. And we'll just keep working our way through it, having fun. And again, this is just like a small composition we're doing. Let's see how it goes. We'll use some round sable brushes. I'm trying to see what I have here. I think I'll use my travel brush here. And so I'll use a travel brush. This is the Da Vinci travel brush, number 4. And then this is really fun. You can unscrew this, put it in, and then you can throw this in a duffel bag or a purse, overnight bag. And it's great. It has a hole in the top so it vents and dries. The brush dries inside, so you don't have to worry about that. So these are great for traveling, or if you do like to, you can leave these in your pockets and stuff, and while you're working, doing some small compositions. If you're traveling on vacation and you want to paint a few scenes like this, you can have your travel brushes with you. They really, really work great. So let's continue here, and I'm going to get my things set up here. Before I do anything, though, I just wanted to just kind of show the... You could save these too. You could save these if you buy or whatever plastic you do use. If you want to keep reusing this, you can definitely, let me see if I have, I might want to save this and do this again for a small composition. So I'll leave this Sharpie marker pen drawing on this film. I'll save this film and put it in a folder. And then, but this is, if you want to reuse your film, so you can reuse your film. And then I just have a little bit of paper towel, or tissue works fine, paper towel. And then I just take a little bit of the paint remover and tape, gum remover, and whatever, and just the Sharpie marker comes right off like that, and you can reuse this over and over and over again, so no big deal. This stuff lasts forever. And but again, I'll save mine and put it in a folder, this farmhouse. I'll just save it because I'd like to do it again, I think. So we'll work on this one now. We've got it transferred onto our watercolor paper. We have our photograph here. And we're ready to start painting. So let's, I'll get some water. So I'll set up my, let's see if I have room up here. Okay, I'll just put this here so you kind of know where my water container I'll leave up there. I'll put my damp sponge here for taking water off the brush. So we have everything all situated correctly. Some fresh water in the water container. Okay, so let's mix up some colors to start with. That's a good plan usually to get some colors on your palette. We always talk about that on my channel here. So we're going to do the roofs here. They're going to be some ivory black here. We'll have some ivory black and some Payne's gray. It's kind of nice to have a little bit of two blacks here to mix. So you have a little bit of variety in color, and maybe a little cerulean blue over here too. So now I'm kind of looking at the roof and saying, all right, this roof here has kind of got more blue in it. I see more like a bluish green. I might take a touch of green in there too. So kind of like a blue-green. And then these roofs here are a little darker. Payne's gray and ivory black. We'll mix that for there. And then we can also use this for the silo. And we can use these for the darks in the windows. We'll mix some red for the barn over here. So let's do some alizarin crimson. And again, we'll mix up some different, we have lots of reds here. Let's use them. So we have alizarin crimson, rose madder, and cadmium red. Let's get a nice variety of the red colors, even some burnt sienna. And then we'll take a little touch of blue, cerulean blue, maybe a little cobalt blue. Maybe a little purple too. We'll kind of mix up some purple in there and blue with the red. So we kind of we have like a good variety of warm and cool, cooler with the purple and blue. Cobalt blue, ultramarine violet, which is my favorite violet color. Winsor Newton makes that. I use mostly Winsor Newton colors, I would say. I think 50-50. Winsor Newton and Holbein are my two favorite paints. I'm just used to using them all the time for many years, so I stick with them. They really seem to work out great. But there's lots of great paints out there. I'm sure I know all of you are using different colors, different paints. Some of you have definitely left me comments, I know, over the years, letting me know that you have some really interesting paints too. And I try to, once in a while, I'll try different brands too. If you recommend brands, I usually try them. So I do have extra, actually, paints that I have that people have mentioned are good. So I do also change brands sometimes if I have it. And I'm going to start getting that And again, this is like a fun composition to do. Sometimes it's good to maybe build into the washes some lines, almost like horizontal lines for roofing. Roofing, you kind of can see the horizontal lines as well as some of the vertical. At this distance, though, in the photograph, you wouldn't see any of the details of the shingles of the roof, so we'll kind of keep it the same way. So this tonal value, this dark, is pretty much the same as this here. So I can, and it's a little bit lighter up top along the siding there. So I'll take the damp brush and dry off a little bit of the paint and kind of make it lighter over here. Like that. And then over here, the sunlight is affecting this rooftop there, which makes it lighter. If you can find some areas that maybe have a little bit of minor changes in tonal value, you can sometimes try to add that in there. It looks a little better. Looks a little bit darker here. Like that. And then I'll rinse off the brush, dry off the water, and then just maybe a little bit of a like that. All right, so that is pretty much looking good. Let's do some roof colors now. We'll do this barn color here. And then I don't mind if it kind of blends in with the roof, because it's sort of the similar tonal value there. Here I'm going to leave that. And I'll dry off the brush and just kind of blend that in a little bit. Go. And I squint and I notice it is pretty close in tonal value, this and this. So that's okay if it kind of blends in there a little bit. And we'll work on the windows, but let's do the silo. So the silo is a little bit warmer in color. There's a little bit of raw sienna maybe in there. So I'll add a little bit of raw sienna. And the light is pretty much, I think the light is coming from the left this way. So there's a little bit of a shadow over here. So I'll put a little bit of a darker shadow on this side, just a little bit. Dry off the brush, a little bit on the sponge, and just have a little bit of a, and then if I can, I'll put in some just very subtle, there's like iron metal rings that go around the silos to give it extra strength. So those are there, just a little bit of detail but not too much. And then we have the shadow under here, and then more the same tonal value up top, and it's darker over here on the right side. Rinse the brush, dry off the water almost completely off the brush, just so it's not even, no, the damp brush is fine, and then just smooth that out a little bit there. And then we have a little bit of a shadow over here, I see, so I'll try to put that in there, and there's another something there. I try to put in a few of the details anyway. And there's a bit of a shadow by this vertical pipe that runs alongside the silo. That's good. Maybe we'll start to just add a little bit of sky wash here. I'll put some blue in this here just to make it kind of blend in with the sky. And I'll just kind of make a little bit of a tie-in with the silo with some sky wash, just to have that. We'll come back in and do some interesting clouds, but we'll just kind of do that to blend in a little bit of the sky with the silo. It kind of makes a nice feeling of things blending together and not maybe having that cut out pasted look. And I think we're going to do this over here. This rooftop is quite light in tonal value, so we're just going to use a little bit of tone there. Rinse off the brush, and I use the damp brush, and that's a very light tone there. And as you can see, we're just having fun working on our eyesight with our artwork, kind of trying to get those tonal values really accurate as we can. We're going to continue working here. I did notice that in this drawing here, or in the photograph, this porch over here it's more or less over here. So it sits further back. And what else do we have here? Okay, I would say maybe we'll do some greens. sap green, a little bit of cobalt blue maybe, yellow ochre, olive green maybe too. And then maybe the cooler greens that are more blue, that's the shadowy part of the... And there's a little bit of burnt sienna in that too, maybe. Maybe a little bit of alizarin crimson too. I'm just looking at the bushes around the house here. We're not going to probably do everything. We're just going to have a fun time just doing a quick sketch of this. And maybe we'll start up here. And we'll do some, this looks like a dark green here. So there's a tree over here right along the house. Like this. Maybe we can even get some lemon, cadmium lemon yellow, and add a little bit of that. And then add a little bit of the shadow color maybe underneath here, just to give it a little bit of a darker feel there. That should be fine. And then what I'd like to do is get that distant field in. That is right about here. So if I look, I see that that distant field is right about there, right where the roof meets the eaves. So I'm just going to take that and make a little pencil line there, like so. And then we can take a cooler green. So we'll take some green over here, add a little bit of some of that cooler green in the distance with a little bit of purple too. Like that. So these are very light. In the distance, to get distance, we just go lighter, more misty and lighter looking for our washes. Like that. Then they can get a little bit darker as they come forward this way, but still quite cool purples and blues. And then as it comes this way, then it gets greener, like that. And then more warm greens with more yellow in there. And that looks pretty good. Just to kind of, again, just we're trying to work out some, looking at the photograph and trying to see if we can match pretty close the tonal values. All right, let's take a quick break. We've been working quite a bit. Okay, so let's take a quick break and we'll continue on with some windows and more bushes and trees and sky wash. All right, we're just going to continue on here. We'll get some new fresh water in our water container. I might continue across here and maybe get some more of these. I'm going to probably change my water very soon. I'll change my paint. I meant to say I'm going to I'll tidy up and clean my palette up here just to make sure I don't keep mixing over the same colors over and over again. It's definitely want to get some of that purple and cerulean blue. Lighter washes. Green and purple. Good distance colors, and then there's a little bit of a very, very kind of a dull green across there. Could also use some chromium oxide, I think we have here. I'm just doing the fields here. And they change. You can kind of see how the fields, they might have plantings in one section, and then they change, and they have another grouping of plants and vegetables and things in their fields. And that looks pretty good, so we can kind of see it gets a little bit darker over the top here where the roof is, but we should wait and let that dry a little bit, and then we can go over with that darker bit of green on top of this roof here. So we have this field in, some of these distant trees. Okay, now I think we'll do some of the windows here. That'll be good. Let's do some windows. That's going to be since we are doing really dark colors here, cerulean blue, I think, mixed with some of the black and the green, we should be okay with the colors in the palette. And then I'll just sort of and I'm going to kind of go through this try to go through this pretty quickly. The darker tonal values in the windows, I think, are up at the top of the windows, and then they get a little lighter toward the bottom of the window. So that's why I'm going to do that first. I kind of get that there, and then we have those there. And there's a couple so I'm looking at these. That's there. This is here. There's a couple small windows there. There's a door here. Right under this here, so we'll put that door there. A little bit darker on the top. And cerulean blue. I think that looks good here. And again, we're having fun here. I'm just getting in some spots of color. Then I can go in and if I see anything, there seems to be a pretty dark over here. Like that. Looks pretty good so far. There's some windows under here. Bit of a shadow under there, and there's some shadows under here too, under the eaves of these roofs here. So I'll use some purple and it's a very fine line here, so I'm going to just try to get those. Then it kind of lightens up a little bit here. So more or less a cerulean blue look. And over here, not so much. There's not much of a shadow over here on this side of this gable roof over here, but there is the shadowing under there. And I think that looks pretty good. Maybe we'll get some greens here. Sap green, yellow ochre, burnt sienna too. Alizarin crimson too, just a little bit. We'll kind of mix our greens for our bushes here. And there's a couple along here. So I'm going to just kind of take my time here and put in some bushes. Put down maybe some spots of paint, and then do a little bit of random kind of color, maybe a couple splashes, and then there's a kind of a darker, maybe a little bit of cobalt blue just to get a little bit of a darker tree over here. I tap off the water so I have more of a damp brush here. Then it looks like there's some lawn over here. And what I think I'll do is, we're just having some fun here. I'm not going to go super. I just want to get some of the bushes and things here. And I just try to follow those patterns. And I think the shadow patterns are a little bit to the right here. And that's what I'll do there. I'll kind of just swoop the paint this way. Just gives it a feeling of movement through the picture a little bit. And I think that's pretty good. Let's do a little more with the sky and we'll call it a day. I also wanted to just do a quick, I notice here we have a little bit of some color there and some blue. Touch of blue there. Windows tend to pick up the color of the trees in the sky. The glass on the windows, those tend to be blue and green most times. And all right, so we have things looking good. Let's try to do a little more with the sky. So right now, I think we can just set the phone aside and we'll just work on the sky wash. And what I'll do is I'll get fresh, clean water for the sky wash. It's always good to have nice crystal clear water for the sky washes because we want the blue to look really good, transparent. And then what I'll do is I'll take some clear water and I'll just pre-wet the paper a little bit up here. I'm not going to flood the paper, really. I'm just going to kind of pre-wet the paper a little bit here. Just along the right side over here. I'll leave this dry paper over here. Just pre-wet the paper a little bit there. And then I'll try to mix up some cerulean blue. And maybe a little bit of a grayish mix here to start with. Like that. Maybe a bit of a stormy kind of cloud there. And I just let the paint do the work with the water and the damp paper. Like that. And that may be all we need, really, just to get an indication of some sky. We're just having fun here. We're painting. Like this is basically a composition we might do to practice some colors before we do a larger painting, maybe. Or this can be our final painting right here. Next thing I would like to do is maybe, I just want to maybe clear a bit of that there, and I'd like to also soften this edge here. And while I'm here, let me do this. I'd like to get a little bit of more color here. Like that. just a little bit more there, just to kind of highlight that spot. And then I'd also like to get a little bit of orange. For that bit of that haze in the first quarter mile of the atmosphere. And what I'll do is, once I get that little bit of cerulean blue, just the tiniest amount of cadmium orange, then I'll rinse off my brush really well, dry it off on a tissue, so I just have a damp brush, and then just blend that up into the white paper there, just so it kind of has a softening there, so there's not like a line so much. And that's really what we have here, is a lot of just fun practicing our colors. Maybe this is just a fun idea of practicing a painting we're doing for a project or something, and maybe we'll do a few more. I think a little bit of this is some greens through here. That. And maybe there's a little bit of a darker line there, like so. And I'll just soften that up a little bit. I wanted to make that a little more of a and I think that is really perfect. Let's get a tiny bit of lemon yellow, cadmium lemon yellow. Rinse off my brush really well. And that little bit of cadmium lemon yellow on the side of this house here is really going to look great. Just a tiny bit though. In a few spots here and there, not everywhere. I would just put a few tiniest bits of some cadmium yellow lemon. Maybe some yellow ochre over here. There tends to be a little bit of a... And I think that's good. The only other thing I can imagine is well, sometimes I'll see a spot too that I need to I guess the key is not to do too much. Now over here we kind of said that the shadows are on the right side, like this, so we would have more shadows on the right side. Just something I guess we can keep in mind as we go. But I think that's fine. And anything else that we were going to do here? pretty good actually over here. And a tiny bit of a shadow there. Purple and some blue, cobalt blue. Shadow there maybe. Maybe a bit of shadow here. I'll blend that in a little bit. And maybe we'll make a couple people working on the farm here. Okay, somebody over here. And I just take some color mixes. Okay, so we have maybe a couple people here. Let's do another maybe. Maybe we'll do some burnt sienna. Maybe some cobalt blue maybe. And we'll do somebody over here in the shadow, maybe a couple people. So we can add a little bit of figures just to make it interesting, more interesting and exciting. Indications of that. And I think that's pretty good. Well, I'm glad you had fun here on this video. Well, we started out and we said we were not going to go too much more than just doing the acetate film, the Duralar acetate film, to do some tracing. But why not? When we're doing our tracing, this is what we do. We can get this barn here, and let's say we wanted to create 4 different color schemes for this beautiful farmhouse scene. You can use your acetate film. You can use this again, take another sheet of watercolor paper, put it on, trace it out, just like we did in the beginning, and you could create some different looks. You might be able to do like an autumn scene where you have some autumn colors in this painting. You might have to research some other photographs of farm scenes maybe and see some different color variations that you might have using it in autumn. You might do a snow scene where you could do like 4 seasons if you wanted to. You could take this scene and you just keep sketching the lines down onto another sheet of watercolor paper and try different color schemes in your paintings. And you really see it's really fun to do that. You can kind of come up with some really cool color combinations. You can even make some notes on what colors you used throughout the painting and have some fun with it too. So glad you're here and painting with me. I always mention, if you haven't subscribed, on the right hand side below there's a subscribe button right down below here, and basically that's just, you won't lose track of me. Next time you're on YouTube, you'll see that on the side of your screen you might see my new and latest videos that are coming out. So you'll have those and you can watch them and check them out. And if you'd like to work with me and work along with all of us, you can do that. If you don't see something you like, the next week you probably will, because we're always doing different subject matter. We'll do farmhouses, and sometimes we'll do seascapes and lighthouses and flowers. We'll do some city scenes. We'll do architecture, houses, buildings. We do all kinds of watercolor. So you'll always get a kind of a good general working knowledge of all the different subject matter that's really out there that most artists paint, that you see out there in the world of watercolor. So again, I'm so happy you joined along, and we'll see you soon on the next video. Happy painting, everybody.